What's up guys, and thank you for stopping by the channel. Today's project is this Murray push lawnmower, and the problem is that it'll start and run for a few seconds, but then it will die. Let's take a good look at it and see if we can find out what's wrong with it, and hopefully we can fix it. In this video, we repair this lawnmower. However, it may not be the exact repair you need to make to yours. We'll explore other situations later in the video. In this case, we do have some history on this mower. It was running last year and it was put up for the winter, but after a few months of storage, it now has a problem. But let's diagnose this thing as though we don't have any history at all. We'll start with the basics and go from there. First, let's check to make sure we have some oil in the engine. If we get this thing running, we want to make sure we don't damage it any further by not having enough oil in it. Well, the oil looks brand new and at the correct level, so let's continue. Now, if the oil is low, you may want to add a few ounces, and if the oil is dirty, well, I wouldn't change it till we get the mower running again. Now, this isn't part of the repair, it's just a pet peeve of mine. I really hate it when the brake cable is zip tied to the handle like this. Now, if you fold the handlebars, the cable will hang up on this T-handle bolt, so I'm going to remove the zip tie. Luckily the tank is mostly empty, but I can see there's a small amount of gas at the bottom. That means there should still be some gas in the fuel lines and that we were able to prime the carb and probably try starting it. So if your mower starts and dies just like this, then we need to take a look at the carburetor. The reason it started was because it ran on the gas that the primer bulb delivered to the engine. However, it died because the carburetor wasn't able to continue feeding gas into the engine. There's more than likely a blockage in the carburetor. To remove the air filter base, remove the bolts holding it to the engine. Now once all the bolts are out, carefully remove the base. Then remove the fuel line and eventually the carburetor itself. I don't want to lose any of the gas in the carburetor bowl because I want to look for any issues with it. So I'm going to clamp the line as I take off the carburetor. Before we go any further, we need to make sure that we remove and reinstall the plastic ring and the O-ring on the backside of the carburetor. If we look at the backside of the carburetor, we can see that the O-ring also fell off when the carburetor was taken off the intake tube. Now, to inspect the carburetor, we'll need to remove the two screws on the carburetor bowl and then carefully pry the bowl off the carburetor. I don't know if you can see this, but I see a bubble of water at the bottom of the bowl. It's also visible on the wood where some of it spilled out of the bowl when I was prying it off the carburetor. So if I pour the rest of the fuel onto the wood, you can see that the gas soaked into the wood while the water stays on the top of it in a bubble. So even though there was a small amount of water in the bowl, I'm still going to check for a clogged jet just to make sure since we've gotten this far. So carefully pry the plastic piece out of the carburetor using a small flathead screwdriver or possibly even a knife. Okay, the 3 holes near the top are all clear, so more than likely the brass jet at the bottom is the one that's clogged. To clear the clog out of the jet, use a small diameter wire to poke it out of the jet. Okay, I felt some resistance and then I felt it give way, so more than likely the blockage has cleared. And since we're here, let's take the assembly apart and look for any further issues. Well, it looks clean and clear, so let's put it back together and then reassemble the carburetor. The plastic assembly only goes in one way, so don't force it. And if it doesn't slide in, well, then turn it around and try it again. So what other reasons could cause your engine to start and die? Well, another reason could be a leak in the intake system. The O-ring that we saw earlier could shrink over time and not seal like it's supposed to the intake tube. You don't have to over-tighten the 2 screws for the bowl, since the bowl has a large O-ring that will actually seal to the carburetor. And once the carburetor is back together, replace the O-ring and the plastic ring and maneuver it back onto the governor linkage. Then reinstall it back on the intake tube, reconnect the fuel line, and of course the air filter base. Since we lost all the gasoline when we disassembled the carburetor, I'll put some more back into the tank, prime the carburetor, and then we'll try starting it one more time. Well, it started and it stayed running, so our repair was successful. I would suggest using 100% gas in the future and running the tank dry if you're going to put it up for a few months. So my question to you is, would you use ethanol gas if you knew that you were going to run it out of gas every time that you mowed with it? Or would you use 100% gas just to avoid the hassle of running it dry? I'm really interested in your opinion. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time. Please feel free to ask any questions, and I hope to see you in my next video.